our defence and armed forces are critical for two reasons. The first reason is that we are facing an existential threat from Islamic terrorism, and we must be able to respond to that appropriately and at home and abroad. We require full spectrum capabilities, and that includes the military capability. The second reason is that we have to project ourselves onto the global stage effectively and decisively post-Brexit. If we are unable to project ourselves globally following Brexit, then this country will not succeed at that level. Military power combined with soft power is a critical element in doing that job. Now, if we talk about our capability at the moment, we all know that we have an aircraft carrier that has no aircraft. That's only the tip of the iceberg. The Royal Navy has two cutting-edge types of vessel coming online in the next coming years, including the global combat ship. The only problem with this ship is that it's going to go to sea without its main armament, because the Ministry of Defence has not managed to procure the anti-ship missiles that will constitute its main armament. So the Royal Navy, for at least 2 or 3 years, will have no capability to, none of the Royal Navy surface ships will have a capability to sink another vessel at sea, which is an appalling situation. I talked earlier of Islamic terrorism as an existential threat. The world is a dangerous place, and we see the Russian Federation flexing its muscles in various parts of the world. The Russians have massive armoured formations. The British Army has 3 heavy armoured regiments. This is entirely inadequate to meet these threats. I would go further and talk about the infantry. We have got 7 battalions of the Rifle Regiment. The traditional regiments of the English line, the Cheshires, the Devon and Dorsets, the Royal Green Jackets, have all been amalgamated into the Rifles. So they have lost their link with the geographical regions. The Ministry of Defence will tell you otherwise, but that's the fact of it. In Scotland, we've lost the traditional regiments there as well. The Black Watch, the Gordons, the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. And they have all been amalgamated into the Royal Scots, which itself is a very old regiment, but we've lost many of the affiliations and identities that have traditionally underpinned the resilience of the British Army and the British infantry. In Wales, it's exactly the same. The Royal Regiment of Wales has been now formed out of a lot of the Welsh local regiments. This is unnecessary. Why create these large regiments? So I would be, as leader of UKIP, I would be pursuing a policy of reconnecting our infantry battalions and regiments to their historic recruiting areas. Furthermore, recruitment into the armed forces is extremely slow. And this is because that process has now been farmed out to commercial organisations who run them on behalf of the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. A young man or young woman at the age of 20 wanting to join the Army is not going to be prepared to wait for a year or 18 months to get the paperwork done. In days gone by, not so 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would get this job done in 3 months. Now it can take you well plus of a year, by which time people's lives have moved on and they're not interested any longer. This, I believe, is why the armed forces have a problem with recruitment. It's not because there are no people interested in joining the armed forces. It is because people just simply lose interest because the bureaucracy of joining is such a long one. Retention in all of the forces is a significant problem. It's a problem because the housing for armed forces families is totally inadequate. And again, that is the result of it being contracted out to commercial organisations who are in the business of making a profit. They've got shareholders. We are undermining the effectiveness and the morale of our armed forces by contracting out support functions that have no grounding or experience in supporting those who defend our nation. For me, there is a root and branch requirement to revisit our defence reviews, to rebuild our armed forces. As I said at the beginning, it is absolutely critical that this country is once again respected for the quality and the reach of our Army, Navy and Air Force.